Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. In today's video we're going to be taking a look at the brand new battle traits for Age of Sigmar Warcry for the Harbingers of Destruction. Now you'll be able to find all the rules for these abilities in printed format in the brand new Briar and Bone box set booklet. Today's video is sponsored by Gap Games, a fantastic miniature wargaming store in Queensland, Australia. They stock a wide variety of miniature wargames from all things Games Workshop to some of my personal favourites, Conquest of the Last Argument of Kings, and all things Modifius wargames as well. Use our affiliate code in the link below to help support both this fantastic store and the channel as well. To start off with, first of all, we have the Destruction ability, and you can choose to sub out your faction specific ability for Destruction at any time if you want to before the game begins. So if you're, say, Bone Splitters, you can use the Bone Splitters ability or the Destruction ability. That Destruction ability is Relentless Destroyers. When a friendly fighter with this battle trait makes a melee attack action, that target cannot add +1 to their toughness for being in cover. A very situational ability, but definitely when you've got high strength, cover is something that can really affect a lot of the stronger sort of thing, Oryx and Ogres style warbands, where your opponent can actually get up to your toughness, and especially with things like Stormcast and all of that, able to go above your strength and make you wound on 5s. So having this ability is nice and can really affect some games. Bone Splitters are next, and yes, they do still have rules in Age of Sigmar Warcry, which is fantastic. So if you're a little bit upset that they've not got rules in Age of Sigmar anymore, or at least they won't in the near future, they are available to play in Warcry and probably will be for the foreseeable future, as Warcry's rules don't change all that often. The Bone Splitters have primal beliefs, where when a player whose warband has this battle trait makes an initiative roll, before initiative is determined, they can re-roll each result of 1. This is a pretty interesting ability because it allows you to affect the initiative roll, which isn't something you normally can affect outside of your wild dice. So having the ability to sort of determine what you're going to do is solid. Gloomspite gets a next, and they have the Bad Moon Rises, where at the start of the battle round, each player whose warband has this battle trait can roll a dice, starting with the attacker. On a 2+, you pick one of your opponents or your own double, triples, and quads and change the value of those ability dice to the result of the dice roll. So this is pretty cool because obviously if you roll like a 1, 2, or 3, you give it to your opponent, unless of course that 3 would maybe increase your 1 to a 2 on a D3 or something like that. Or, you know, that 5 or 6, definitely give that to yourself if you've got a nice high triple there, good bit of healing or anything like that. I think this is a fairly solid ability. It is, you know, like Destruction, a little bit random in what it can do, but I do like that regardless sort of what you roll, if you roll high or low, you do have reasons to use that on you or your opponent. I think that definitely balances it out and makes it much more useful. The Gorging Warpack are next, one of our actual sort of proper Warcry warbands for the Destruction. Now they have Ravenous Gorging, where after an enemy fighter has been taken down by a melee attack action made by a friendly fighter with this battle trait, you can remove D3 damage points allocated to that friendly fighter. This is pretty cool. Like, the Gorges have a lot of high wounds, you know, D3 damage isn't a lot to remove, but when your opponent's having to punch so many wounds through on your fighters, it definitely is going to get annoying. If your opponent's got a very high count of models in their warbands, you're going to be able to kill quite a bit and get quite a bit of this healing. It's definitely not going to be as effective against warbands that have much less models, so Stormcast, Slaves to Darkness, if they go down that sort of Wall of Iron line, and other warbands of that sort. But, you know, against something like Hunters of Hawanchi or that, you'd be pretty good at getting quite a bit of healing. Ironjaws have enough messin. Each time an enemy fighter makes a wait action, each player whose warband has this trait can pick one friendly fighter, and that fighter makes a bonus move action of up to 3 inch. This is a cool ability because it's just going to allow you, if your opponent is waiting to see what you sort of do, you're going to get these extra moves. It'll stop your opponent potentially making waits because they just don't want the move. You know, you can pull your fighters into range, you can do a whole bunch of stuff that's going to really dictate how the battle sort of flows. I think this is probably one of the better abilities I think I've seen on any of the warbands. It really is interesting in how this is going to affect your games and how it's going to affect what your opponent actually does. Cruel Boys are next, the generic Cruel Boys faction. They have Stick 'em Good and Quick, Once per battle round, you can pick a friendly fighter with this battle trait, and for that battle round, after that fighter's activation, you can pick an enemy fighter that was allocated 1 or more damage points by melee attack action made by the fighter you picked, and allocate D3 damage points to that enemy fighter. Being able to allocate extra damage is pretty cool. This can, maybe tip something over the edge. Your opponent thinks they've survived. Your opponents use things like counter or been doing stuff to sort of negate your damage with their reactions and stuff like that. Being able to just shank through the last D3 damage and take someone out is a really good ability to have access to. The Cruel Boys Monster Killers, meanwhile, they have Horrible Trap. When a friendly fighter with this battle trait uses the Cruel Trap reaction, if that enemy fighter has a monster rune mark, you add 2 to the roll. Now this is incredibly specific, and I think that's probably the downside of it. Not a lot of monsters get played in my sort of local area. I don't know, they have their place in Warcry and some people do use them, but they're going to be few and far between in sort of what you see and what you get use out of this, depending on what's sort of being played around you. It's a cool ability nonetheless, but I don't think it's going to be one that really does have that much effect on most games. Lastly, we have the Ogre Mo Tribes, and friendly fighters with this battle trait and the Brute or Agile rune mark can make the following action. And this is called Devour Corpse. You pick an enemy fighter that's taken down and roll a dice. Remove a number of damage points from that fighter equal to the roll. And an enemy fighter cannot be picked as the target of this action more than once per battle. So this is pretty cool. Like, if you're going to sort of take down enemy fighters, get some healing on them, it does require you to use an action to do so, which is interesting because it's going to mean you have to kill them with your first sort of swing, and then use this on them. So, it is what it is. But another little bit of healing for, once again, like the Gorging Maw pack, a warband that is very bulky is going to be annoying to have to do, and it's going to have differing effects depending on how many models your opponent has. We hope that this video was helpful in getting you started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry, and that it was able to give you some ideas and inspiration to start your own force in the game. If you have any other questions at all, please comment them down below and we'll endeavour to get back to you. And while you're there, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe and join our Discord server as well, linked in the video's description, for all our future Warhammer Age of Sigmar Warcry content.